Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a while since I've last been on here, and then there's quite a few updates I want to tell you. I had a very rough winter, very toxic roommate. That's the main reason why I haven't been able to be on here in a very long time. But as you saw from last summer, the labs that I did, I went to Penn College for a pharmacy technician professional program. And I want to tell you more about my experience, the cost of it, and the different programs you can do there. And first thing I'll start off with was I enrolled into the program the second week of July in 2025. And there's quite a bit of book work in there, and it's self-paced. And then there's a choice between two different programs. You can do the Pharmacy Technician Professional Program, which includes a 135-hour externship program where you do actual hands-on training at a real-life pharmacy setting, and that's an actual mock-style job. Unfortunately, it's unpaid though, but you get plenty of experience there where you do pharmacy technician roles, such as ringing up prescriptions for customers, counting medications, pulling medications, cleaning the workstations, and then you could also meet different people in the industry too there at the job, which is awesome. That's included in the program, but before you can get enrolled into that, you have to go through actual drug test and background check, and the school sends links and they provide that to you, which is really nice. And then also the school, they end up placing you in a local pharmacy. It's a CVS or Walgreens, which is closest to your house, which is really nice. And my externship, since I decided to do the professional program, that's only 5 minutes away from home, which is very, very convenient. And before you can even get to the hands-on training, you have to go through all the book work, which I'll start off with that on the basic rundown on this course if you're interested in enrolling. Now, if you do the Pharmacy Technician Professional Program, it's about $1,200. You can pay it all at once, or you can pay it every month for 12 months. And depending on how quick you do the program, I did mine fast. So then I did month by month for the first half year. And then it took me just under 7 months to graduate, including the externship, and I paid the second half out of pocket because you have to have the tuition paid off in full before they can hand you the diploma. So then that's what I did. Started last July, and I think there's about, if I remember correctly, about 9 different chapters you have to go through. The first one starts off with just the orientation for pharmacy technician to give an overall objective on what the program entails and what it's like to work there and as a day in the life. And they do both retail and hospital courses. So then the orientation, that's what they do. They talk about the basic rundown day in life, and I think it's a 20-question test after that. In each test, you have to get at least a 70% for passing. Once you pass the orientation for the pharmacy technician, then next you roll right into the job with how to act on the job, like professionalism, integrity, and different scenarios on what you do and what you will not do in a real life setting. So that's a great way to start the program, because with this kind of job, you have to be very professional every day, especially you're working with medication and you don't want to do anything to harm anybody. And then after that, you end up diving into what drugs do to the body. That's the third segment, which is really cool there. And then after that, where you learn the different medications in the third segment. Next one, they talk about the different systems in the human body, which is a lot. And most of these chapters, you have to take 3 different tests that are 20 questions each. I believe it was about 30 different tests you have to take, and there are 20 questions. And then after you're done with the different systems in the human body, then you end up going into pharmacy math, calculations, and then there's also pharmacy law. There's business management in a pharmacy. You have to learn that because you deal with people's health insurance on the job too, and varieties of stuff like that, so they teach you that. So it's a very good program because then you just learn the basics to get into the job. And then there's also a couple chapters that have sterile and non-sterile compounding. And also at the very end of the course, you learn how to enter prescriptions and look up patient profiles in like a real life setting and what you would do on a computer working at the actual pharmacy. And then after that you have about 12 different labs, which is quite a bit, hands-on labs, and I filmed quite a bit of videos on that last summer where you have to measure liquids, and then you have to compound medication, that's what I remember, and then Garban technique, and then sterilization technique, washing hands technique, there's aseptic technique. There's a lot of different stuff you have to know, but that's more if you work in a hospital setting. But in retail, you don't have to do all that. You just pretty much wash your hands there for at least 20 seconds, but working in a hospital pharmacy, it's a lot more involved, so you have to know how to do sterile and non-sterile compounding too. So that was covered in the courses, and it's definitely a lot involved. It's luckily open book, but you have to try very hard. It's not a real easy program to pass. I have to be honest about that. Then at the very end of the program, they have a mock test, kind of like what they would have for the National PTCB certification, which the school prepares you for that. I think they pay for one attempt for that test. And then they're also honor you as the State Board of Pharmacy, where you can, in some states, get your license. That's how I was able to get my Pennsylvania state license, because I just needed schooling since I didn't have any work experience prior. And then that mock test at the very end, that's about 90 questions, and then they give you a 2-hour time limit. So they end up timing you on the computer, and it's a lot of different questions on there. You have to know different medications, pharmacy law, math calculations in order to pass it. And then at the very end of that, once you pass the core parts of the program, then if you decided on the professional program with the externship, then you have to get placed into that, which takes an average of 2 months between the background check and then the drug test, and then also the pharmacy needs a spot for the students, and then the school and the pharmacy manager talk back and forth there for approval, and then you end up getting in after that. And then depending on how fast you go, you can finish the externship in as little as 3 weeks, or it can take you a few months depending on your availability. Mine took a few weeks, and then I was lucky. I was able to roll right into employment full-time with the pharmacy that did my externship. I was very fortunate with that, which is amazing, and graduated from the program about 2.5 months ago, and it took me just under 7 months to finish it, and it was very worth it, very affordable, and you can land a very good career in it. And the flexibility in the online courses are amazing with the busy lifestyle. Definitely a lot more manageable than going to a physical classroom there. And then the instructors online help you out if you have any questions about anything throughout the program. So if anybody's interested, that's my experience with Penn Foster, and then they offer many other programs. And then I did the pharmacy technician professional, but you can also do the one without the externship, and that might be about $300 cheaper, but I recommend if you haven't been in the health field before to do the externship so you can get hands-on experience to prepare you for a real job to see if you like it or not. Hope this video is helpful, and we'll see you in the future on another one.